Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Excelcast. I'm your host, Joe Parker, and today I have one of my very good childhood friends, Chris Briner. Chris, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, Joe. How are you? Thanks for
Um,
thanks for having me on.
yeah, dude, absolutely. I'm fantastic. Just inform our audience a little bit about you and what you've been doing recently.
Yeah. It's been about a year now since I got out of school. I finished my master's in business administration, and now I started a job with KPMG, which is a accounting firm. I'm actually coming up on first year here in September, so that year went by really quick, but entering the workforce, adulthood. So it's been new. There's been some challenges, but it's going good. Learning a lot, so can't complain.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. So, speaking of like challenges, what has been one of the main challenges of converting, not converting, but transitioning rather from
Yeah,
being in college to adulthood and from having that.
yeah. It's a huge difference. Especially playing sports my whole life, as we all know you did as well. It's hard going from that sports personality, that athlete, you know, college athlete, and then, just kind of it just stopping. I mean, I play some basketball here and there, do some other things, but it's a difficult change because you kind of just have to change your personality to, businessman, teacher, whatever your route is in life. It kind of just all shifts. And a good analogy that a lot of people have told me is like you just feel like you're just trying to stay afloat. You're doggy paddling in the water. You're trying to gain your ground, and it's because everything just comes at you so fast. And especially like with the job I have, which is it can be a high stress job. A lot of work to be done, a lot of deadlines, like that kind of stuff is just thrown at you. And um, you know, some people may not speak on this, but most people have a good workforce and good colleagues that are able to, help them, like I do. But it's just, a lot of new things in life that, nothing can really prepare you for it. So, it's fast, but I think that first year out really teaches you a lot about life and yourself. And I think that first year out of school, college, your master's, you just grow a lot. So that's the positive side to it.
Yeah, there's very little room for error. I feel like, especially
Hmm.
having a job where you're responsible for the accounting of someone's books. There's
Hmm.
very little room for that. You're liable. You are
Hmm.
held accountable for all of the decisions that you make. You need to get things done on time,
Yep.
especially. I know the two major times of the year are tax season, but
Yep.
also right before the end of the year or the
Yep.
fiscal year, whatever you could be doing for the client. Um, so I know that there's a lot of time constraints and
Yep.
also not much room for error. So how have your college and high school life how has that helped you in the current situation and current role that you have right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think sports and school, as much as it's meant to give you that base education, it also helps you, build the habits that you take throughout your adult life. So like playing sports, being, a student athlete, it really has helped me to manage time. And I know that's like a very well used term, very, a lot of people use that once you go into college. A lot of college people hear that. A lot of college students, the advice everyone gives them is managing your time. And I think that is something, especially where my student athletes can relate, is that really does help, you know, you have to be able to manage your time well, or you're going to be disorganized. Things are going to sneak up on you. It just, nothing good happens when you're not managing your time properly. So I think that's one of the main things about what I learned throughout college and throughout my younger life is managing your time, because when those deadlines do come, you have to prioritize certain things, and you have to be able to, create a list and work through it. And that also, organization comes with that as well, being organized. And then ultimately just working hard, like if you want, I feel like the harder you work, the less stress that you can experience, because if you're working hard and you're getting the stuff done that you need to get done, then I mean, that's one of the best things that you can have, is just a great work ethic. And I think sports in general has taught me that um, throughout my whole life, is just, have a good work ethic, be organized, manage your time, and, be positive too. I mean, sometimes it's hard when, the stress is piling up, but I mean, if you can stay positive through all that, you keep a good mindset, I mean, nothing can stop you. You can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah, playing sports in college specifically, I feel like takes up a lot of your time. So when you
Yep.
get out, it could be sports, it could be a club, whatever you're in. When you get out of college, that allows for you have an advantage, right? Because
Yeah.
people who are just in college just to go to class, they only had to focus on class.
hmm
But when you had a sport, had a club, you also have your classes, you have extracurriculars, you had a job. If you have all of those things piled onto each other, that diversity of what you're
hmm
doing with your time and the overall time management that is required to handle all of those things really makes for a well-rounded person. So I definitely think that having sports, especially in college, is a beneficial thing for anyone who has access or has the ability to play them.
Yeah, completely agree. It's definitely a game changer. And um I mean, even the people that don't play sports, like those extracurricular activities that you do, like whether it be like you said, like a club or a job or whatever the extracurricular is, that just that just better rounds you and sets you up better for the future. I mean, I know it, in high school at McDevitt, and even when we got to college, that was what a lot of professors would say, would, join as many clubs as you can. And a lot of people, and myself would be like, I don't really want to join that many clubs. Like, I have my schoolwork, whatnot. But I kind of understand now where they were coming from when they were recommending that stuff, because they knew it what habit it would build in us once we do get out of school and into that, the real world.
Yeah, because if you're not filling your time with good things like a club or an organization, community, sports, athletics,
hmm
something like that, you're definitely going to fill it with things that are not going to progress you forward. So
Yeah.
the most, which like having fun and things like that, like that's one thing. Like you can do that from time to time, but
Right.
having the majority of your time being taken up by positive things that are going to progress you and build community around you, I feel like that's why professors and teachers and parents push that on kids, because they're like,
hmm
you're going to spend your time anyway. Everyone has 24 hours. You might as well spend it doing something positively.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I feel like, yeah, it allows you to bring more value to whatever company you end up at. So
hmm
specifically, I know that there's value in accounting, right? But how have you been able to specifically bring value to your company in a way that's not just like the ABCs of the job? How have you been able
hmm
to expand past that and add extra value to your job?
Yeah. No. Definitely. And I think it's, I do a lot of the extra things. Like, for example, we had two campaigns in the Christmas season, December and January. Just like, um, the one was Holiday Wish program, where we, went and got donations from people in our company, and we went and bought a bunch of Christmas presents for underprivileged or less privileged people and their kids and their families. And that was one thing that I did. That was, that felt really good doing that. Being one of the main, people in that process. I did another similar campaign to that. I wasn't as involved as I was with the other one, but similar meaning to it. Being like a transitional coach, which is basically taking on an intern and showing them the ropes, showing them how to merge into the company that we're working for. A lot of volunteering. Our company offers a lot of volunteer opportunities, and they encourage us to take advantage of it. So whether it be going to middle school or elementary school, other trying to think of like nonprofits, just going to those places and helping kids out, helping people out. That's like something that I wanted to kind of implement myself with in the company, is to just kind of do that extra stuff that, you know, honestly just kind of, makes you feel good as a person, helping other people. Cause I mean, like you said, like accounting it's its own thing, but being able to actually help people in other ways at the same time was definitely what I tried to add to, bring value to the company with me being there.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome what you guys did too, and helping those families in need. That I feel like having that extra sense of community and that extra, taking that extra step when it comes to being a part of a company, is
Hmm.
definitely beneficial to you and to the company. And also,
Oh
being
yeah.
a part of a company like that is very good for you because you feel like your purpose is beyond numbers. Your purpose
Hmm.
is
Yep.
beyond, just getting paid, and you understand that you have a social responsibility to the community
Exactly.
to
Yep.
them in a positive way. And
Yep.
also having someone underneath you, like being a transitional coach. How is that experience for you? Being able to mentor someone like an intern.
Yeah. It's definitely like, so kind of like, it's not as hands-on as like a manager would be, or in that sort, but it does, you kind of just welcome them onto the into the company and just kind of help them with anything they need, and just being that person that could help someone, because I was just in their position a year ago. So
Yeah.
being able to provide comfort and relieve stress that they may have, um, definitely feels good. Because I mean, like we said before, going into a big company like that, and transitioning into adulthood can be stressful. So being able to ease some of that stress for someone, that was the most positive thing that I took out of that.
Yeah. Is that a position that you volunteer for, or are you chosen for a position like that?
Yeah, they send out, they just send out something and say, hey, interns are coming in. If you want to be one, please reach out. If you don't, it's okay. And initially I didn't reach out, but they reached out to me,
Me.
and I was like, you know what, this is probably a sign. I should just do it. So
Yeah.
I was glad I did it. I'll probably do it again for someone else. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, just making a good impact on people, building a relationship too. Um, I mean, I think we both know how important relationships are in life in general. So that that's one good thing about taking someone under your wing. You usually build a really good connection with them. So
Yeah. Yeah. I like that at first you were kind of like, because a lot of times when we're called to do something or we're called to take action on something, there's definitely that like little bit of doubt or a
mhm.
little bit of like, should I do this? I don't know if it was like your work schedule was just hectic or you
Yeah,
didn't know if
mhm.
you had enough experience to be that coach. There's probably a lot of things running through your head. But
Yeah,
yeah, that second reach out where they were like, no, like this was meant for someone like you. Like we
yeah,
want you to do this for us. And like, okay, well, if you say it directly to me, then I guess I'm showing some sort of effort or some
yeah,
sort of work ethic that you think is admirable enough to put me in a position to, bring up that next generation of workers in your company. So that really speaks to your work ethic. And I'm glad that you, on the second time that they reached out, you took that chance because it seems to have impacted you in a beneficial way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. It's you know, it's important to do that for people. You know, I think what goes around comes around. You know, the more good you do for other people and, you know, for yourself, you could say, you know, that's just going to come around to your life and, you know, impact you in a good way. So can't pass, you always take
Yeah.
those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't let, future, if you have future goals for yourself, like sometimes I'll catch myself running, right? And I won't wave to someone because I'm like, I'm trying to make this mile time. I recently have adopted a different mindset when it comes to that, where it's more of like, no, you can stop and wave at those people, or you can stop
Hmm.
and say hi. If someone says hi to you, you can say hi. If you're a second or two late on your time, and I know I'm being kind of hypocritical in saying this because I'm also very, about hitting your goals no matter what.
Yeah.
But I recently have adopted a more well-rounded approach to those goals and to those things because sometimes when you are too narrow on that stuff, you leave a trail of destruction. I'm not
Hmm.
gonna lie, you lead a trail of not being your best self in all facets because you're so focused on that one thing. And while it is good to a point, sometimes you have to broaden afterwards. Like you hit this goal and you hit it. You now have to kind of like become more well rounded. You can't just keep focusing on this goal because you're going to hit
Hmm.
a point where you're just spinning your wheels and burning out and you're not really progressing properly. So, how do you teach, these people that are coming up underneath you? Do you stress more? Like, what do you stress more when you're trying to teach them how to cope with that new feeling of being in this workforce?
Yeah, that's another great question. I can even kind of, you know, I could pivot this into, you know, being a leader on the basketball team as well. Be like having someone
Yeah.
under your wing in, you know, at the firm that I'm at, and then having someone under your wing on a basketball team. Obviously, they're very different situations, but different circumstances. But I think like your message, you know, it remains constant for the most part. It's always to, you know, put happiness first. I think that's something that's, you know, not stressed enough in a lot of situations is like, you know, you want to, you know, you're playing basketball. Yeah, it's a college can be stressful, high school can be stressful, whatever level you're at. If you're, you know, very serious about your performance, it can be stressful. And I think that word performance is kind of a key word in these comparisons. For a company, you need to perform, you need to meet a certain quota, deadlines, basketball, you know, you have to perform if you want to play, you have to perform if you want to win. So, kind of like creating a balance between, you know, being happy and performing and like merging them is something that I try and implement when I have people under my wing is, you know, you have to perform, you have to work hard, but we're also here to be, you know, we're here to be happy, we're here to have fun, you could say, if you know, if you like your job, you know, if it's meant to be fun. It's meant to make you grow. So kind of like finding that middle ground, helping people find that middle ground is what I try and do. There's not really like a concrete answer from me. It's almost just helping those people with what they need. Because something I've learned is that people don't like to be just told, do this, do that, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's not a very effective way of leading people. It's just kind of how humans are. You know, we don't like to be bossed around, you could say. So I kind of try and take a different approach of almost like lending a hand instead of just, you know, do this, you have to do that. So I think it's more of like just guiding people rather than bossing around, you could say. It's a very
Yeah, like
complicated leadership. Like leadership's very can be very complicated. It's one thing I've learned throughout my years of being a captain on the basketball team. It's very it's there's a lot of gray area. You have to be able to adapt ultimately.
yeah, like almost like offering different perspectives to them.
Hmm.
Like, hey, have you considered this? Hey, have you looked at this? Like, say someone comes with you, there's an issue with a client, and you kind of ask them questions, right? Like to get a full picture of the scenario. And then you go, hey, well, have you thought of this? Rather than, well, why didn't you just do this?
Hmm.
There's two different ways to approach it when it
Yep.
comes to that. So offering that different perspective and asking questions. And then if they say, hey, what would you do? You can then say, oh, I would
Yeah.
do this. This is what I would do if they value your opinion and your perspective. Um, which I'm sure they do, being that you're their mentor. But,
Hmm.
with anyone, with any conversation, with any kind of team aspect, they get more out of it when they arrive at the answer
Yep.
because then they're working through that thought process. Whether if you just tell them, it's kind of like anything in life. If you're just given the answer, or if you're just given money, if you're just given weight loss, right? You're not going to appreciate it and it's not going to stick with you because you're not going to take those steps next necessary and have that
Hmm.
thought process of actually achieving that goal.
Yep.
So I feel like having that guided, sort of leadership is definitely a great way to approach a situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
And
something that you can, kind of combine with that to make a perfect formula is leading by example as a leader. I think that's one of the best things you can do really is lead by example. If you expect your team to do something, if you expect your coworker to do something, then you better be doing the same thing and going 10 times harder at it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like, especially with basketball being a great analogy for this, if you score, if you hit a game winning shot, like you're allowed to celebrate. Like in work, if you land a huge client, like you're allowed to celebrate. I mean, don't celebrate and like hold on to that celebration as like I'm done now.
Yeah.
Like you have to keep going. You're allowed to have that moment of I did it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then continue on. Because that enthusiasm and that excitement and that milestone that you hit, that's what keeps you going. Because
Yep.
otherwise, what are you doing this for?
Yep.
So I feel like
Exactly.
approaching it, and that's where that happiness comes in too, right? Like that's where that I'm excited to come out and play because I know that there's opportunities for me to score, for me to hit a game-winning shot, for us to win. Like that's why I'm excited. I'm happy to be here because those opportunities present themselves to us.
Yep.
So what have been some like key milestones for you as you've been at KPMG?
So some key milestones would be probably the first one would be, getting through busy season. That's definitely
Yeah,
a milestone. That's a, stressful time. And I think throughout your first year, a lot of stuff, just doesn't make sense. Like you're asking a lot of questions. So I just take a lot of little wins, the smallest wins I can get, like that's a milestone for me. Um,
yeah,
they do a very good job of, performance review and, growth, development, career development. So after each, client that you're on, that you're working with, you get a performance review and taking like the good feedback that you get from those is something that I take as small wins. Just to know that I can make a positive impact on a team. Um, Definitely makes you feel good. And I take a lot of those as small wins, milestones. Um, and honestly, just, when I run into a problem, twice or multiple times, and instead of asking the question, I figure it out by myself. With whatever, it may be, those little wins too, milestone, just check them off. I think that's important for, your mental health, just your
Yeah.
confidence in general. It's, you know, getting those little wins, taking those small things in life. Like you said, like if you land a client, if you hit a game winning shot, enjoying it. Um, I think like everything can be so fast paced in life. Um, and taking a moment and slowing down, realizing the good that you have done, is something that is very important. And it's very hard too. It's hard a lot of the times. The negative thoughts are what always cloud your mind. And it's hard to think of all the positive that you've done, and taking that time and taking those small wins throughout the year, as many as you can. There's no limit, to how many small wins you can, how many milestones you can get in one year. Um, I think that's a very important lesson that everyone can apply to their life. Is just slow down, take those small wins. They're more important than you think they are, and I
Yeah.
think
Like
that's.
being able to
Oh no, go ahead, Joe.
No, yeah, like being able to break down those milestones too. Like you have daily milestones, weekly milestones. Like your daily
Hmm.
milestone may be to say like drink a gallon of water a day. That's one of mine recently.
Yep.
Your weekly milestone may be to go to the gym 5 days a week. Now, I go every day, but someone, like there might be a weekly milestone. And say you don't hit it one of the days, like you don't go to the gym one of the days, you're like, okay, well, that's a weekly milestone that I go 5 days a week. So I can hit that weekly milestone still because I didn't not go 3 times this week. Once you hit 3 times, then you don't hit that weekly milestone.
Right.
But having that breakdown for goals, milestones, they're interchangeable, but
Mhm.
having those like little wins throughout the day. Like, okay, I got all my work done. There was a pile of papers on my desk that I've been avoiding. I told myself when I woke up today, I'm going to get them done. I got them done. That was a huge win for me. That was a daily thing, but it was a huge win for me today.
Mhm.
And I definitely understand when you're saying like, hey, like there's key important goals and key moments throughout the day that are very important to your mental health, and they are. And I feel like that's ignored a lot. It's ignored that taking care of the things that appear that they need taking care of and procrastinating and avoiding that is a huge downfall on someone's mental health.
Mhm.
And when it piles up and you keep pushing those things off to the side, it can be detrimental to your mental health, and it just snowballs in a negative fashion. But it's the same thing in a positive fashion. So if you can take that first step and get that little win keeps compounding into other little wins, and then it
Mhm.
turns into you doing big things. And it's step by step, brick by brick, but it all starts with that one step and
Yep.
not having that tunnel vision of 2 to 3 years from now. Like, no, just what can you do right now? What can you do
Yep.
today? You can fix those papers. You can put your clothes away. There's things that you can do right now that can help you propel yourself further into the future
Yeah.
in a positive way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. Breaking up your day into small wins. I mean, I think that's a great practice. That's one of the best practices you can have. Um, it makes you more productive too. If you, even like you said, like just setting little goals throughout the day. Um, it's just a snowball effect from there. It's nothing. Everything good can happen from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not procrastinating it either. Like if it's a Sunday and you're like, okay, well, I have to do laundry, I have to go run, and then I have to make dinner. Well, you kind of have to. I guess you have to kind of procrastinate making dinner because you can't make dinner at 9 a.m. But you do those things as early as possible. Um, you wake up, you take a shower. I usually take a cold shower first thing in the morning, wake myself up, and then you do the things that you have to do. You give yourself 3 to 4 things to do on a day that you have off, even on a day that you have work. You give yourself 3 to 4 things to do for yourself outside of work. If you spend 8 hours in a day investing in someone else's business, you can spend an hour or two investing in yourself. That's something
That
that
yeah.
I've learned. I've heard through various different motivational speakers, various videos, but it's something that we need to consciously keep in mind,
Yeah.
because you are, at the end of the day, you care about you. Your family cares about you. So
Hmm.
you need to care about you, and you need to care about your family.
Yep.
While a company does care about the value you bring and they recognize the value that you bring,
Hmm.
they're not their full investment isn't in you as a person. It's in the
Yeah.
company, which is okay.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. But you need to take that time to then invest in yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you invest in you, you create a better person. You create a more developed person, whether that be career, skill, license, certificate, whatever you go for. Um, you gain all these skills and it creates a better you.
Hmm.
And I feel like that is often, if you get tunnel vision, it's hard to see that all that is required to be a full person, a full
Hmm.
developed person.
Yeah. I
So
think a
how
lot of
have
people
you,
do that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
yeah,
off. I think a lot of
no,
people
you're
do
good, man.
kind
I was,
of.
I was just gonna ask, like, yeah, well, go ahead, Chris. You good?
I was just gonna say, bro, like a lot of people do get that tunnel vision. That's something that
Yeah,
they just like, work is work, and one, that's all. That's like their whole, personality. That's their whole life. A work
yeah,
life balance is very important. It's it's vital in
yeah,
being a healthy person, like you said, like a complete person.
yeah, absolutely. So how have you been able to? Now I know, like, sometimes, especially starting a new job, you may get that tunnel vision because you're trying to, like, prove yourself, like, to the company and things like that.
Hmm.
But what are some things that you've learned along the way that have allowed you to, branch off and have more of a balanced outlook on life in general?
Yeah, definitely good question. That's honestly like something that I don't like to think about this, but I do. Going back to COVID, because we know how, that was a traumatic experience, traumatic time. I think that almost gave me like a new look on life and just in general. I mean, you kind of like look outside the window and everything's, crashing and burning, like, the world's on fire, and I kind of just like started to appreciate things more, whether it be especially family and friends and the relationships I have. That was, number one, but just all the other little things like um traveling, spending time with your family and friends, enjoying that, that last couple hours of the day before, the sun sets, like just like little stuff like that. I definitely started to appreciate more throughout my life, and that time period, I think it definitely opened a lot of people's eyes to life, and how blessed we are, and how blessed we are to be on this earth and have family and friends, have food, water, because not everyone has those things. So I think just a new appreciation for things is just kind of my that was like my main takeaway from that time period, and it's only grown stronger as the years go by too. So like to spin back on the work life balance, when you have that appreciation for things and you have that new outlook, um yeah, work is very important, but at the same time it's not everything. It's not, you know it's not, how can I best explain this? It's just not the main driver of happiness in your life is, your
Yeah,
work and your performance. I think the relationships are, and the time you spend not working. I think that's, you know, how you spend that time is very important. And the company I work for does a great job of promoting work-life balance and, flexible schedules. So that helps. That definitely helps achieve that happiness. But just appreciating that those small things in life, I think are how you can, balance, work and, life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like, especially when you meet those deadlines and you do the things that you're supposed to do properly, which is key in a work-life balance type of company where they're like, hey, you can do what you got to do, but you also have to do what you have to do, like, at the
Yeah.
same time. And that allows for a valued delivery type of structure. I mean, I'm sure you get paid. I don't know if you get paid hourly or salary. Um,
Salary.
but the you get salary. Okay,
Hmm.
so they're looking for you to provide a value then,
Hmm.
right? I mean, I don't know.
Yep.
You probably have set hours, but it's more flexible with when you work.
Hmm.
But it's a value delivery system. What kind of hours do you work? Like, do you work 40 hours a week, or is it flexible based on the value you deliver?
Yeah, it's a minimum of 40. Um,
Yeah.
but like other than busy season, if you have some client demands one week that require you to work, over 40, then that's how it is. So it's very flexible, very flexible.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I feel like having that though, like you're required to deliver value though, more than like hourly. That makes sense. Like, there's some places that are like, oh, we're paying you a wage, and that you're just for every hour you're here, like that's what you're doing, and we're paying you per hour that you stand here. Whereas your job is more like you need to do certain things and then you get paid this amount. And
You there,
that's
Joe?
what, is the case.
I think I lost you for a little bit.
Chris? All right,
Can
my
you hear
bad.
me?
We can cut this out then.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah, I
think
can hear you.
it
Can you
just
hear me?
froze for a while.
No, I got you. I'll cut this out.
You can hear me now, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
So, yeah, so the value system that you deliver value to your company, right? So you're not there on like an hourly wage kind of thing, even though you're like 40 hours a week is minimum. They're like, here, this is what we're paying you, and we expect you to deliver X, Y, and Z. So
Hmm.
it's more motivated to do the correct things and deliver those projects, those numbers, or what do you do? What are the things that you're supposed to hand in at your job?
A lot of it is it's just like so my title would be like an auditor. So
Okay.
work papers, testing numbers. It's a very wide variety of that. General accounting principles and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
varies. I've lost track of all the different things that I've had to do in this first year. Especially as like a first year, you're doing a lot. It covers a wide range. Um, so I've gotten that question a lot. I'm like, what do you do? And I'm like, "Oh, I do so much. There's so many different things, and And that's also why it's like, it's a hard, it can be, like I said, it can be stressful, because a lot of it's so new, and there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
So that experience is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you manage, and not even like a work life balance, but like a work in work balance? Like, where do you allot, or how do you choose where you allot most of your time to when it comes to the various things that you have to do at the job?
Yeah, that's actually I mean, that's something that, as first year, a lot of people stress to us is, time allocation, like getting an
Yeah.
understanding of what you have to work for, what's priority, what's top priority, what's second priority, and then what can be, pushed to the bottom of the totem pole for now. And the people above us really help the first years out with that. And just kind of project planning, getting on a meeting every morning, and going through various items, and just helping you prioritize the day. It's something that I've tried to practice, with the team that I'm on, is me and my other coworker. We hop on a call every single day in the morning, and we basically just go over like game plan for the day. And it definitely helps me out a lot. But not only does it help me out, it does help the overall efficiency of the team. Um, because as a first
Yeah.
year, we're not expected to know everything. So they want us to ask those questions and be engaged in like meetings every day, that we express what we're doing, what we think is top priority. They will come back to us and be like, hey, you can probably, this is priority, but you can probably set that to the side for now and do this. So those, getting into that habit of talking through your day with your coworkers, is a great practice, for you know anyone that is starting a business or just joined a team. Try to implement that on your team. Whether you get good feedback or bad feedback from that idea, I think having that initiative is, it's golden. It can really help you, and your team be more efficient in the work that you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like also that uh same structure, same framework can be applied to your daily life, and
Mhm.
knowing what your priorities are, what needs to be at the top of the
Really?
totem pole, the bottom of the totem pole, and allocating your time specifically to those various things. I mean, I know personally with my weight loss, right? Like I worked, right? I had my jobs that I had to do, but my main priority every day when I woke up was working out. And I allotted a lot of my time to that because that was my top priority. So,
Hmm.
whatever is the main thing that you want to change, whether it be in your life, whether it be in your work, whether it be in your relationships, career, if you have a business, what's the main thing that you want to work on? And
Hmm.
that needs to have the most time. The top priority thing needs to have the most time, and that's how you have to view it. If you really, really, really want to lose weight, but you spend 30 minutes in the gym, you're going to be spinning your wheels and not getting any progress if that is in your mind your top priority. Just like getting a job, right? If your top priority is getting a job, I need a job, I need a job, but you spend 10 minutes a day looking at,
Hmm.
job applications, what are you doing? Like, it
Yeah.
should be the majority of your time if it's your top priority. And I really think that that can also work in a work situation. And I'm glad that you guys have that structure where in the beginning of the day, in the morning, you sit down and you go, hey, what do we got to do today? And who's
Hmm.
doing what? And then you kind of allocate your time and you allocate it to each other. You delegate a little bit,
Yep.
and then you guys have goals that you need to meet throughout the day, and then you go out and you hit those goals. You're like, hey, job well done, great day. Those daily goals that we were talking about earlier, you
Hmm.
guys set those up in the morning. So I think that's a
Yep.
fantastic practice that you guys have.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and like you said, it can help you in your personal life. Like going back to just being organized. that and managing your time, it almost all coincides together, in my opinion. And having those priorities set for each day. I think I saw, I think it was Matthew McConaughey or some of that one actor. He basically every morning every single morning he has a notebook and he just writes down everything that he has to do throughout the day, or and then just like checks it off. And he even says like,
Yeah,
you can put whatever you want on there. Like I think he says he puts like have your first cup of coffee, like checked it off. It almost
yeah,
just like helps you through. I don't know, it just keeps your day organized, keeps you organized. And I what and everything good can come from that.
yeah. And it also makes you realize like how much you do in a day too.
Yeah.
Because if you start writing everything down, like not even just like key moments, but you're like, I have to do the dishes and I have to fold the laundry, put the laundry in, and I have to, once I do that, I have to go to work and then I have to run and then I have to and then you get to a point where you're like, wow, I just filled up a whole page of things that I do on a daily basis. But then you also realize that if I've realized anyway, with those checklists, you get stuff done a lot faster. Like if you
Mhm.
actually take the time to write it down. One of my classes was program managing programs and projects. They say that planning takes a lot of time, but when you plan properly, the execution can be done. Like you save like twofold the time because
Yeah.
you plan so properly that you can then like as you're doing the things like just check them all off. And that even like having your first cup of coffee, because there's been days where I've forgotten to have a cup of coffee and it's not a great day. It's not, especially because I've reached a point where I need coffee in the morning. I'm just gonna say it straight up.
I'm
It's
with
it's
you.
one of my things that I need a little caffeine to wake me up in the morning. Now I have adopted waiting a little bit though, kind of having that like delayed gratification. Like first I take
Mhm.
a cold shower, then I read a little bit, then I write some goals down, then I go get a cup of coffee
Yeah.
because you kind of build a little bit of resiliency to you can do things without coffee, and
Yeah.
then you have your. But yeah, I really like that. I like that because I need to start doing it more too with to do lists and things like that because they're very beneficial to anyone who does them, and it can be small things, and those small things are those small steps like we were talking about earlier. Daily small things that you can do to improve yourself, and then it snowballs. You start putting more things on
Mhm.
there, and it can definitely be a beneficial tool to anyone who uses it correctly.
Yep.
Um, and don't worry about using it correctly at first either. You know, if you do put things like, dude, sometimes it's like getting up out of bed. Like I've been at points in my life where it's like I would like do work in bed, and while that doesn't sound too crazy, like oh you're still doing work, like no, I didn't get out of bed for hours though. Like that's not health. Like that's not good for you.
Yeah.
And it can be something as small as that. It's still a win. It's a win for some people who are in that position and in that scenario.
Oh
And
yeah.
just to transition into a little bit of a more uplifting topic, your word is ambition. So how do you your ambition is what you want to achieve, the goals you want to achieve. So how in the past has ambition gotten you to where you want to be, and also what are your future ambitions?
Yeah. Like you said, like having an ambition is just having, those goals that you want to, achieve, and it's the work that you put in to achieve them. Obviously goals don't just, come to you on a silver platter. I mean, sometimes they might, um, but in most cases, you have to work for those goals and work hard. And um, we
Especially
can
if
see
they're
that.
worth yeah
What's that?
if they're worth it, especially if they're worth it too. Like if there's goals that are worth your time and worth your while, it's not going to be easy. It's
Oh
not.
yeah. No, no. And I think if it's too easy, like you said, it's just not worth it. It's like
No.
nothing that is worth it should be easy in life. I feel like I've heard that, that piece of advice so many times from, elders. And And, people that are older than me, especially like my dad, he always would tell me that. Um, that's a good point. It's a very good point. And I think something that I would say I've incorporated, um, especially through my, playing basketball, was just, lifting and getting in the gym as much as possible. I had a goal to be, to win a championship, a conference championship. And honestly, just to be like, the best player I could be. Now, I feel like I probably didn't perform as well as I should have. Um, and I think that I could have worked even harder. Um, I don't want to say I have like regrets to the time that I put in. I feel like at that time I really did think that I was all in. But as you get older, you learn. You look back on things and you say, "Oh, I actually probably could have played basketball, worked out for an hour longer instead of going back and playing some video games like I did or something like that." Um,
Yeah.
so there's always stuff you learn from, but I think not having those, like looking back and not having those regrets to the work you put in, I think that speaks enough for yourself. And really, like, ambition is something that it's just, I think everyone really does have it in them. It's not something that's like just kind of comes out of the blue. I feel like every human has ambition in them. They're all everyone's always working for something. And there's
Yeah.
always goals to be achieved. There's always something to strive for. Um, and something that I strive for in the future is honestly is just being happy. I mean, I have ambition to be happy. I have ambition to, have a family. Ambition to be, just have an overall comfortable life. And I think that's just a broad term that I use, instead of going into all the little details of life, but just having a comfortable life, having, be a homeowner, have you could say dream car, have a nice car, have, a great relationship with God, people, your friends, family. I think that creates a very peaceful life and joyful life. And I think that's something that, like we kind of touched on before with COVID and appreciating the little things. I think that's kind of added to my ambition, is being able to provide that for myself. And a near point in the, at a point near in the future. 24 years old, it's, time isn't slowing down. If anything, it's, time's even going faster. Um,
Yeah.
so I think, ambition before was to be the best basketball player that I could be, but now it's, it's pivoted into being, having a good life, um,
Yeah.
it switches, your ambitions, your goals, they pivot into different aspects of life.
Yeah. And I feel like the way to be comfortable, like you said, you want to have a comfortable life. I don't think you mean like you want to not have to do anything. Like you want to
Mhm.
be so competent and so skillful that you understand that no matter what comes your way, whether that be needing a new job or something needs taken care of at the house, you have the ability and you have the skills in order to take care of that.
Yep.
And I feel like that's a very important thing that a lot of people miss, that I know I've missed in the past, that if you want to have that comfortable life, you need to have that skill and put in that work in order to
Mhm.
then be like, hey, like no matter what happens, like there's a 99% chance I can take care of the situation because of all my experiences, my investment, my attention to the things that are
Mhm.
going on around me. Whatever it is, you're competent in people skills, you're competent with your bank account, you're competent with, your ability to earn, things like that.
Mhm.
Competency and skills. I've really learned like skills are huge when it comes to um, bringing value to the workplace and bringing value to the lives of other people. So I know that you're a hard worker, bro. So I know you meant like
Yeah.
well wasn't like laying on the couch, but it's
No.
just like everything's good and you're the reason that everyone around you can look to be like, hey, like I got Chris, so like we're good. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, yeah, and you strive to be that person. I know that's the person I'm striving to be as well.
Mhm. Yep. And that comfort in life comes from hard work, you know.
Yeah,
That's attained through ambition and hard work. It's I feel like when you're comfortable in life, you have achieved your goals. I think a lot of, and that doesn't mean your goals stop. You know, that doesn't mean that um, you don't have higher, more goals. It's just once you're comfortable in life, you've reached a milestone, like we've said. You've reached a
yeah,
milestone where you can provide for yourself, you can provide for a family, and um, that's something that I feel like is almost overlooked too. Like just having a house, having a family, that's so, precious, and it's so important. And I don't want to say it's overlooked, but it's such a common thing that it's like, oh yeah, you got a house. But I know for those people that achieve that, it's probably like the best feeling in the world, and I can't wait to achieve that as well.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of I feel like we overlooked it when we were younger. Like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
that's just how it's supposed to be. Like, mom and dad's supposed to have a house. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we have a house. It's cool. It's fine. But then, like, as you get older, you're like, wow, y'all did all this just to have a house. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you went through this just to
Yeah.
own a home. Like, that's insane. And it kind of even gives you like more of a perspective on what their situation is like. You grow up and they're, as they're like, hey, like, can you do your dishes? You're like, yeah, like I'll do them, I guess. But then you're older, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna make my kids do the dishes. That's for
Yeah.
sure, because that's wild. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No,
oh
you said it best. Like, the perspective just changes on so
yeah,
many things as you get older. You have appreciation for things more. You see things differently that you didn't see when you were younger. It is a beautiful thing, seeing all that come to fruition.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's definitely an enriching experience. Life is, and you don't understand, and then like as you're going through life, you're like, oh, that's why they said that. Okay, that's why. Oh, all right. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
I was wrong this whole time. Awesome.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I
dude.
always have that feeling. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
makes sense now.
Yeah. 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 But, it's all about gaining those experiences because if you don't arrive to those experiences by yourself, to our point earlier, you're never truly going to learn and you're never
No.
truly going to be able to make decisions on your own. And that's what they're preparing you for. They're preparing you
Hmm.
for life.
Yep.
And, yeah, Chris, you also have a quote to share. And I really enjoy your quote, but if you want to share it, I would appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a Bible verse. It's something that I'll just say in my head at random times. It can be a very good motivational quote too, I think. But it's Psalm 23, chapter 23, verse 4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Um, Beautiful Bible verse. Say it all the time in my head. It really it really hits home there. It just like feels like you just are invincible. That's what I feel like when I say it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like as long as God is with you and as long as the Spirit is with you,
Hmm.
there's literally nothing else that can harm you. I know one of my
Exactly.
favorite motivational speakers, E.T. the hip hop preacher. He says, "No darkness can destroy this kind of love, like this kind
Hmm.
of love that I have, this kind of love that God gave me." I don't know if that's definitely a paraphrase, but I'm kind of making it my own. Um, but no evil, no darkness can. If you walk in a room with such an amazing amount of love, and there's someone or some sort of like energy there that's like not good, if you walk in with such great like love and such great energy, that darkness or that person, they'll either have to change or have to leave. And that sounds like, you don't want someone to have to leave, but
Yeah.
they do. If I'm in a great mood and you choose to leave, like that's on you. Same thing with relationships. If you're always approaching it with a fantastic attitude and a fantastic like optimism, and that person, that friend, whatever, like they just never reciprocate, they're either going to no longer be your friend or they're going to slowly start adapting to that energy
Hmm.
that you have,
Right.
because that kind of love and that kind of self-love, that you love yourself and you have high energy and you're always ready to go, no darkness can defeat that. If you
Hmm.
truly believe that that energy is within you, no darkness can knock that from you. And that's something
Exactly.
that, yeah, I've kind of taken into account and consideration throughout the years. Didn't really do it at first. Let a lot of external things kind of get under my skin, and I try my best to not do that anymore. So I really like that quote. I
Hmm.
really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, of course. It's something to live by. So much good stuff in the Bible, and like motivational speakers. There's so
Oh
much good
yeah,
stuff out there that you can learn from other people. Reading and gaining more knowledge, it's priceless. So I try to always listen in on other people's point of views of life. There's so many different point of views, so many different experiences that other people have had, and you know can only gain from it.
yeah, absolutely, man. And Chris, I just want to thank you for coming on, because I appreciate all the perspectives, all the stories and lessons you've shared, how you've been able to navigate that first year being at KPMG, and also not even just being there, but also being a leader for those around you. And I really appreciate your time and energy, man. I had fun doing this podcast. This one
Oh
was
yeah.
definitely one of my favorites for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I
So
appreciate you having me. Always great conversations, great perspectives on life. It's always a good talk when we're together, and yeah, no, I appreciate it, Joe.
yeah, dude, absolutely. And for everyone out there listening, if you made it this far, thank you very much for listening to the Excel Cast with Chris Briner. This will be episode 20, 24, 24,
24.
23. One of the episodes, but it'll be episode Ambition. And
Love
follow
it.
the podcast on Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're on Instagram at Excelcast underscore. We're also on TikTok at Excelcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on all those various other platforms. Do the Q&A on Spotify. Do the poll on Spotify. And as always, stay blessed and excel.